Greetings, Nick with Sweetwater here. Today we're going to dissect the opening two riffs of Pantera's classic song, Cowboys from Hell. Furthermore, we're going to learn how to play them the right way, the dime way. First off, here's how I've seen a lot of guitarists, including some really great ones, play this glorious piece of legendary Pantera riffage. Now at this point, you're probably staring at the screen, shaking your head and thinking, this guy's freaking nuts. That wasn't wrong, that was spot on. And if you're doing that, I totally get it. After all, what I played sounded right, totally right actually. And it was, kinda. Here's the scoop. In terms of notes and timing, what I just played was 333% correct. But that said, there were a few tiny but pivotal Dimebag nuances missing. Here's the exact same riff again, but this time played the dime way. As promised, let's dissect Dime's approach to these two riffs and digest it. Cowboys from Hell is of course the title track to Pantera's 1990 major label debut. This one. And man, what a timeless and amazing album it still is some 3 decades later. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm so darn sure I know how Dime played these riffs, the answer is a simple one. He showed me in person. In the 90s and 2000s, I had the great honor of working with Dime on his monthly guitar column for Guitar World for the best part of a decade. It was called Riff of Madness, and this riff was actually the subject of his very first column way back in April 1993, when he was still known as Dimebag Darrell. Exactly how Dime plays these two riffs and the story behind them was also discussed when I interviewed him for Guitar World's How I Wrote a Classic Metal Riff feature in the early 2000s. Anyway, disclaimer over, back to the plot. Now, the opening to Cowboys from Hell is effectively a BOGO, 2 for the price of 1 kind of deal. I say this because the main riff that appears when the whole band kicks in is merely a slight but clever variation of the intro riff played an octave lower. Now before we go any further, I should quickly discuss the elephant in the room, namely the tuning on the album. And here's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I know it because Grady Champion told me, and he was Dime's tech. From the Cowboys from Hell album onwards, all of Dime's tuning was a hair over a quarter step flat. To be exact, when he tuned to E, he was really 40 cents higher than E flat or D sharp. Ditto when he tuned down to say D, he was really close to C sharp. And like I said, I know this because his legendary guitar tech, Grady Dragon Champion, told me. That said, I'm tuned to regular tuning, A equals 440. Right, let's start with the higher riff, the one at the very start of the song. Here it is, played slowly. And here it is a bit faster, without too much palm muting so you can clearly hear the notes. Now, as Dime said in his very first Guitar World column, this is actually a pretty easy riff to play, allegedly, because it's made up of one of the first rock scales we all learn, the E minor blues scale. He also said this: hearing it played an octave higher is like an appetizer. It introduces you to the riff and makes you hungry for more. Playing it higher first also makes the full-blown lower version sound real heavy when it kicks in. I guess you could say the high intro is the body blow, and the lower one is the knockout punch. Now you've learnt Dime's logic in his exact words, let's learn the body blow section of this great intro. The E minor blues scale consists of merely 6 notes: E, G, A, B flat, B, and D. Here it is played slowly in the 12th position. E, G, A, B flat, B, and finally D. And then we're back to E again. As you can see, I'm fingering the E at the 12th fret on the low E string with my index finger like this. The G at the 15th fret on the same string with this little guy, my pinky. Then I use my first finger again for the note at the 12th fret on the A string, which is A, surprise, surprise. My second finger for the B flat, 1 fret higher than it. My third finger for B, 1 fret above that, 14th fret on the A string. And lastly, the 12th fret on the D I play with once again my index. So, as you can see, we're using all 4 fingers of our fretboard hand, 1 per fret. Nice and efficient too. And please don't be tempted to ignore your pinky. Use the little sucker. It'll make this riff way easier to play, I promise. And if you need an incentive, I'll simply say this. Dime used it, so it's the right way. So employ the pinky. Hurrah! Now we know the notes, let's look at the first of the 2 patterns that make up this intro riff. The first pattern consists of 15 notes, and the first 4 are all on the low E string like this. They go E, G, E, G. They're also lightly palm muted like this. One more time. The next 4 notes are A, G, A, G, and we use the A at the 12th fret on the A string and the G at the 15th fret on the low E. And once again, they're lightly palm muted like this. So A, G, A, G. So if we join these 2 patterns together, what we've got is this. One more time, a little slower. Starting to sound like it, isn't it? Now, as you can see and hopefully hear, every other note is the same darned one, namely the G at the 15th fret on the low E. And just so you know, in music smart speak, this repeated G is sometimes referred to as a pedal point note. So now you know. The next lightly palm muted 4-note sequence starts with the so-called blues note, the B flat at the 13th fret on the A string, followed by yet another G, like this. This is immediately followed by yet another A to G move, namely, so those 4 notes are these, with palm muting. So far we've got 12 of the 15 notes in pattern 1, and here they are in sequence, played slowly. And now a little closer to album speed with some palm muting. Now, if you're a math genius like me, you'll know that 15 minus 12 equals 3. That means, of course, we're a mere trio of notes away from sussing out our first pattern. Those final 3 missing in action notes are B flat, B, and D, respectively. To be precise, we play the B flat at the 13th fret on the A string, just like this. Followed by the B at the 14th fret on the same exact string with our third finger. Then the D at the 12th fret on the D string with our first finger. So we go B flat, B, D. Now every one of the first 12 notes are palm muted and picked, but the last 3 notes are where things change. Firstly, these 3 bad boys aren't palm muted. Secondly, Dime didn't pick the B, he used a hammer on to sound it. And that, my friend, means that the last 3 notes are pick, hammer, pick, like this. Pick, hammer, pick. This means that our first pattern is now complete. Hooray! Here it is, played slowly without palm muting. And here it is, a little faster, with some palm muting, except for the last 3 notes, of course. Now, once you've got this pattern down, you repeat it 3 times in succession like this. Here it is slowly. And that neatly brings us to the second pattern of 12 notes to complete this opening Cowboys from Hell riff. Now, you'll be very pleased to know that the first 8 of said 12 notes are exactly the same as the first 8 that make up the pattern we've just mastered, namely E, G, E, G, A, G, A, G. Just like this. And once again, don't forget to lightly palm mute. So this means if we know 8, we've only got 4 notes to suss out and we're done. Yes! And those final 4 notes are these ones. Namely B flat to A on the A string, then G to E on the low E string. And as you may have noticed, the B flat, G and E were all picked, but the A is a pull-off. So our last 4 are played like this. So the complete Cowboys intro riff is this. Pattern 1 3 times, followed by pattern 2 1 time. Here it is slowly. And to finish off nicely, we slide that final E note down the low E string towards the nut, as that's where the following riff starts. So we do this. Oh yeah, and use alternate picking throughout this one. Down, up, and so on. Now, as shown at the very start of this video, some people play this intro riff in the 7th position on the A, D, and G strings, just like this. Obviously that sounded really cool because the notes are exactly the same, providing of course you're playing the riff correctly. That said, the dime way is at the 12th position and it definitely sounds a little darker and a little less bright. Also, for what it's worth, when you play it in the 12th position, you've got a lot more string real estate to do a nice long slide. Versus, as Dime said in his column, those thicker strings have that extra girth he wanted to hear in this riff. Try playing the 2 versions back to back and you'll hear and feel what he means. In short, the 12th position is a Dime way to play this particular bad boy. End of story and end of the first riff. So next up is the main riff, the lower one which Dime referred to as the knockout punch. This one. As already mentioned, this is exactly the same as the riff we've just learned, but played an octave lower. That said, there are a couple of small but very important little Dimebag twists or nuances thrown in for good measure. Let's check them out. As talked about at the start of this lesson, I've seen a lot of people play this riff like this. And it sounds totally cool too. That said, it's not how Dime played it. He played it using the 6 open position E minor blues scale notes, namely open E to G, open A, then B flat B, then open D, like this. The exact same way as the intro, just an octave lower. But wait, there's more. We have yet to add those simple but effective twists Dime added. They are these. Number 1, the light palm muting is replaced by what he called heavy-duty palm muting. And number 2, to give this lower version of the riff even more teeth, Dime played open E5 and A5 power chords at the start of each turnaround. So instead of using single E and A notes like this, he played it like this. Here's that low riff played slowly the Dime way. Notice how I played the first 8 notes of each repeat with my fretboard hand in the 2nd position, which means my first finger frets the power chords at the 2nd fret, while my middle finger frets the G pedal point at the 3rd fret, like this. And then when it's time to move to the B flat note at the 1st fret on the A string, I simply move my fretboard hand into the 1st position so my index finger frets the B flat, like this. My ring finger frets the G, and my middle finger has the B. So I'm covered. So 2 simple position moves for efficiency. Oh, and yeah, I should point out that I'm using strict alternate picking again, starting with a downstroke for each E5 power chord and then up, down, etc. This means the first 4 power chords at the start of each cycle are all down-picked for maximum chunk. Yes! And there you have it, my friend. Dime's way of playing 2 riffs that are rightly hailed as metal classics. That said, just so you know though, as far as Dime was concerned, even if you don't play one of his riffs the same way he did, if you like the way it sounds, it's right. And there you have it, approved from Dime to play his stuff wrong, if you dig it. Incidentally, Dime got the idea of moving riffs an octave and slightly mutating them from his father, Jerry. This is what the late great guitarist had to say about it. My dad, who was a mean guitar picker, used to say this to me: learn one thing and then try it in all different ways. Up an octave, down an octave, as single notes, as power chords, whatever. And that's exactly what Dime did with Cowboys from Hell. He put his old man's advice to good use. He dropped the riff down an octave, threw in some power chords, and there you have it. Magic. And now you know the backstory. I'm going to sign off with two other examples of Dime putting his dad's advice to good use within the same song, Cowboys from Hell. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mash up the first 4 bars of his epic solo with the brutal 8-bar bridge that follows it. Have fun with this idea, enjoy the riff. I'm out. See ya! Thank you very, very, very much indeed for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For more videos like this, click here or start at sweetwater.com for all your musical instrument and pro audio needs. Goodbye.